everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Gino, good morning. Thank you, my friend, for joining me on the Coaching Call. How are you?
I'm doing good, Raphael. How are you?
Exceptional. Getting better every day. Just a little bit, though. I am so thrilled to have you, and you have such an amazing life story, if you will, because I was reading your bio, and my gosh, you've done so much. But it's not just, you're not a selfish person. You're there helping other people accomplish amazing things, and I am thrilled to have you here with us and have you share some of the insights of what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you're helping people. But before we go there, I want to get to know Gino. Gino, I want to know about, before you were 10, who are your biggest influencers and where'd you grow up?
You opened the podcast and you gave me sort of chills because you're saying that I'm helping others. And that's what I think both of us are attempting to do in life. And I'm only doing that because I was the person in my 10s and 20s and 30s that I was struggling. And I was listening to the Zig Ziglars of the world and the Jim Rohns of the world. And I wanted to better myself. And I needed mentors out there. And that's the only way that I got better, is by listening to others who were willing to share their knowledge and their experience and their expertise with me. So when I became financially free, I felt a duty upon myself. And I wanted to teach my children that mantle of we're not here just for ourselves. I mean, money is great, but money is just a result. Impact is even better. But to answer your question specifically, growing up, both of my parents were immigrants. At the age of 9, believe it or not, that's when I started to go to work with my dad. He owned a restaurant, and that's where my values were starting to be shaped, I think, as most of us are when they were really young. He was a hard worker. He was dedicated. He was committed. He wanted to provide for his family. I loved going to work with him. And as I got older, I went to college. The college route and the cubicle lifestyle was not for me. I ended up opening a restaurant with the family, and I had that restaurant until 2016. It was about 20 years. But around 2007, Raphael, I just felt this urge when my father passed away in August of 2007. I was asking myself, am I living his dream or am I living my dream? And I realized I was living his dream. I was living his I guess, wishes for us to keep the family together and to have that small business. And I didn't feel like I was living up to my values. I read T. Harv Eker's book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And for me, everything changed. I mean, in that book, the line that really sticks out to me is, your fruits are in your roots. And my roots were shallow, and I didn't have very many fruits, and there was no one else to blame but myself. And once I realized the responsibility fell upon me to be able to learn how to create more value and to be able to be more valuable to the marketplace, everything changed. It didn't change overnight, Raphael. We were talking about being happy. 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, those were some dark and hard years for me. Audited by New York State. The business of the restaurant is going down the tubes. I have 4 kids at the time living in New York. Things are not cheap, but at that time I felt the clarity of what I needed to do. I needed to get uncomfortable. I needed to find something different. And I found multifamily real estate. And that's what led me to where I am today.
Wow. Where in New York were you?
I was born in White Plains, New York. I grew up in Westchester, and then we moved to Putnam County, to a town called Mahopac, New York. Back in early 2000s. That's where I had my restaurant. It was in Putnam County. It's about an hour north of the city. It's a beautiful place to grow up and live. It's just, as you know, things have changed in New York over the last several years. And I left New York in June of 2017. I relocated to Florida. I was able to, because I sold the restaurant and I wanted to do real estate down here. That's what I think was the hardest challenge for me with that restaurant. It's not that I didn't like the restaurant. And this is important, everybody. It's the restaurant did not align with my current values.
Mm.
And what do I mean by that? I mean, my mentor, Rick Sapio, taught me this phrase, values-based decision-making. Whenever you make a decision in life, it's based upon your values. Now, Raphael, you said Kung Fu for 49 years. Your value is you value your health, you value your fitness, you value your wellness. So it's not even a thought in your mind that you wouldn't go and work out, because that is what is important and valuable to you. And imagine me being stuck at the restaurant. I have 6 kids. I'm working on the weekends. I'm working on Christmas Eve. I'm working on Easter. You can deal with it for a couple of years, but then after a while, subconsciously, you're saying to yourself, this doesn't feel right. What's going on here? I don't know. And I didn't know. And until I went to life coaching school and I understood what values, goals, objectives, they're not just something you write on a piece of paper. You need to really understand what your values are. You need to flush them out, and you need to work and make every decision in your life based upon those values. And all of our values are different. For me, it was commitment. It was responsibility. It was family. It was integrity, hard work. These are all values that I was sort of falling short at the restaurant. How could I say that I valued family, but meanwhile, I'm working every weekend. I'm missing a lot of these events. And for a while, it's okay. But then after a while, you just sort of feel it. You can feel it in your gut. You can feel it in your soul. I'm writing a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And it really comes down to it. I was producing a lot of unhappy money. And once again, I'm not here to judge anyone or tell anyone what to do with their lives. But when you are attracting and creating unhappy money and making the excuse that I've got 6 mouths to feed and I can't leave this job and try something else because that's too risky, you go down that road, you look back 5 years from now and go, I wish I'd made a different decision. I didn't want to fall into that bucket. I just wanted to take a chance to see what happy money was all about, to be able to, attract that money that has got positive energy, that you really are, what God put you on this planet to do, to really attract it and look at it from that prism. And I had never been able to do that because I was raised by immigrants. Immigrants work hard. They view money differently. They view money from a lens of scarcity. They view money as save. Let's save for a rainy day. Well, why not save for a happy day? That's not how we're wired. I mean, like all of these little things that you start growing up and getting older, you're looking at them through a lens. And if you're listening to this, we look at things a certain way. As you get older, if you have the power to open that lens up and maybe look at it from different perspectives, from different people's perspectives, you become a lot wiser and you can make much, I think, wiser decisions in life.
I love the fact that you talked about family values, and a lot of times, believe it or not, anytime there's a holiday and I'm driving and I'm looking at restaurants and I'm seeing that they're busy, I'm like, wow, I guess they're not seeing their family. I actually think of that. I don't think many people do, but I do. I think, I guess they're not seeing their family till later.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, or they're going to celebrate Easter the day before, the day after, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
able to still have that family time. But a lot of people, especially in the restaurant business, consider, hey, I can be with my family, but I'm going to make so much more money if I open the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So that the value goes into, I'm providing for my family, so therefore I must open the restaurant.
Yes.
So you're torn, right? And I'm sure that happened to you all the time, because if I don't open, people are going to go to the other guys.
Yes.
And they're going to forget about me next week when it's not a holiday. They're going to go, well, you were closed. And so people don't value family the way you and I do. Because I'm not saying that you didn't value family back when you had your restaurants, but you were saying, man, I got four kids at home. I got to provide for them. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good provider. But then you're torn because I'm missing them. I'm missing the opportunity. Maybe because you're at the restaurant, you didn't get to go to that game or that show or that that event with your kids and your wife did, and you're like, wow. Everybody's like, where's your dad? Oh, he's at the restaurant. He's working. Right. And I'm sure the kids heard that over and over and over again. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden they know how, but then they're missing you.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people don't realize that at the end of the day, nobody's going to say, yeah, he opened his restaurant 7 days a week. And that's not what's going to be written on your tombstone.
Mhm.
It's going to say loving father, loving.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Those are the
Yes.
words we have to remember. What's on your epitaph? Oh yeah, they were at work every day. No, I don't think that's the important part. I think
Mhm.
that's not living, right?
Yes, and I would take it one step further. My mentor, Rick, once again introduced me to a term called cathedral thinking. You think back in the Middle Ages, they would build these cathedrals and these buildings that would take 150 years to build. Well, the people building it would never see it come to fruition. Even think of Walt Disney. When Walt was thinking about his parks, they never really came to fruition. And I think that's what you need to think about with your life. Whatever you're doing today, you're going to be, affecting your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren. And once I realized that, I was like, I need to be doing something different, because not only do I want to create happy money, and not only do I want to have a happy family, I want to leave a happy legacy. And how do you do that? It really comes back to focusing on your values and thinking about everything that you do, all the actions that you take today are going to affect your kids and affect your grandkids. And I was fortunate to understand that. I was fortunate to become a life coach. I was fortunate to think to myself that if I'm stuck in the kitchen, hiding in the back, washing dishes, I'm actually being sinful to myself, because I know that I was created for something better. God put me here, and God gave me a lot of benefits. He gave me an amazing family. He gave me an amazing, I'm sorry. We live in, I think, one of the best countries on the planet. All the opportunity that we have. And I'm out there blaming the economy. I'm blaming the presidents instead of just shining the flashlight on myself. Once I understood that, I said, I need to take action. And then once I understood everything that I was doing was affecting my kids, and God forbid, when they have children, whatever baggage that I put onto them, it goes to the next generation. I said to myself, I need to change things. And I think that should be a wake-up call for everybody. There was a gentleman that we interviewed. His name is Rene Rodriguez. He told me a beautiful story on my podcast. And he said, there's a man going down the river, and he's got no paddle and he's got no motor. And Niagara Falls is 100 feet up ahead. He goes, what do you call that? He said, that man is screwed. That's tragic. But the real tragedy is if someone had told him a couple hundred, yards upstream, or maybe a mile upstream, to say, hey, Niagara Falls is ahead, he may have been able to get ready, got in the boat, got in the oar, and turn direction. That's what I'm saying to you right now. It's never too late. We always think it's never the right time. It was never the right time for me to get into real estate. I never had the money starting out. I never had the time. It's not the right time. Interest rates are too high. Interest rates are too low. There's too much competition. There's too little competition. There's no deals. There's no capital. It's never the stars will never align. It's only the right time when you're ready mentally and when you know that you need to make a change in your life. And that's what happened in 2009. When I met my business partner, Jake, I knew that I needed a change. I knew that I needed to step out. And still, it took us a few years to find our very first deal. It didn't happen overnight. And it's not going to happen overnight, because it's a new venture. If you've never bought an apartment building, what do you think? You're going to read a book and buy a building? That's pretty impossible task to do. That's why it's always good to start small. Think big, but start small. Don't listen to these gurus out there telling you need to go buy your first 100-unit building. No, you need to buy a duplex, or maybe a single-family home, or maybe a house hack, and learn from there. And then once you've done that, that wasn't that hard. What about a 3-unit? You buy your 3-unit. That wasn't that hard. How about a 10-unit? And that's how it really goes in life. You see these overnight successes. There is nobody on this planet that is an overnight success. You never see all the hard work and the effort and the despair and the challenges that they've had that lead them up to the point where they finally break through. They've just been persistent enough and patient enough and put in the work to finally break through.
Yeah. It's interesting when you said an overnight success, and the thought that came to my mind when you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. A lotto winner is an overnight success, but then they're not. You know why? Because they've been playing lotto for a long time. They,
Mhm.
they've put their dollar in. Some people play more than a dollar, but let's say when it was a dollar, right? They put their dollar in and their dollar in. They don't just never played lotto before and said, yeah, I'll play lotto today. And boom, they hit the jackpot. That doesn't
Yes.
really
Mhm.
happen to most people. So when
Mhm.
you hear someone winning the lotto, first, I think they're surprised and then they blow it, right? So a lot of people who won the lotto become poor,
Mhm.
poorer than they were before they started.
Mhm.
They need advice. And when you talked about you met your business partner in 2009 and you didn't make your first deal immediately, it didn't happen. To get into anything, I think courage is the word that comes to mind. You
Mhm.
have to have what I call the cojones, right?
Mhm.
Get into it. By the way, you talked about your parents being immigrants. I'm an immigrant.
Mm.
And when I was 8 years old, my parents were immigrants. They came and I'm number 10 of 12, so they brought us all at different times. So all my brothers and sisters, we were dispersed with different family members while my parents came to the US to establish a place.
Mhm.
Um, they came to Jackson Heights in Queens, New York. I'm currently living in Long Island, New York. But for me, it's always, you're right. It doesn't come easy. And when you can get out of the fear or the negativity of you're nobody, you're not going to make it. And then we get into the fact of, you know what? If that one made it and they were on welfare, or if
Mhm.
that one made it and they were in the projects, why can't I?
Mhm.
So we have to stop looking at other people and blaming them for our failures.
Mhm.
We have to look in the mirror and say, I'm not a failure. I can do it if I want to, but I need the courage to start. So I think start is the beginning, right? So who during your early years when you decided to open that restaurant, who were your mentors then? And how did you even sustain a restaurant for 20 years? Because the
Ra
restaurant business is tough.
Raphael,
You
that's a
barely
great question. Yeah, no, it's a great question. Going back early on, I didn't really have mentors early on. It was my father. My father
sleep.
really taught me the business, but it was more of a mom and pop mentality because back in the 90s, you could have one small restaurant and feed three families and live the middle class dream. We did until 2006, 2007, 2008, when the internet came, we became more of a global community. I mean, eating habits started to change. All of a sudden, people waiting on Friday nights 45 minutes didn't want to wait any longer. There was more competition. Things started to shift. And I think you're talking about have the courage. What helped me all throughout my life is I was always surrounded by amazing people. I mean, I married an amazing woman. I mean, 6 kids. She homeschools them. She is
Wow.
unbelievable. She's a rock star. She talk about somebody who never makes excuses. Everyone thinks we have this amazing lifestyle because she never complains. But I mean, when you do 3 loads of laundry a day, you feed for 8, you cook for 8 people 3 times a day, you help me around my businesses, you run the household, and you don't complain. I can't sit here and go, "Oh, I'm tired." If she's putting out that effort, I need to put out that effort. And then when I ask her permission to say, "Hey, Julia, do you mind if I go into real estate full time?" And she says, "Yes, absolutely. I'll back you up 100%." You have to, as a man or as the person asking for that, you have to go in all in. You have to work whatever it takes. I was working before going to the restaurant. I would sit down at lunchtime and then I would come home. That's the dedication that I had because I made a commitment to her that if I'm taking money out of my savings account and I'm putting into a deal, I don't want to lose that money. And as far as a business partner, I selected an amazing business partner, Jake. I actually really like Jake, and he really likes me. And it was holding each other accountable. He's working his pharmaceutical sales job. I'm doing the restaurant at the same time. He moves to Knoxville in 2011. It takes us 18 months to find that first deal, but we are in constant communication. We're constantly talking to each other. And that's another decision, that values-based decision-making to select a partner. Everything aligned with us, our values aligned, what we wanted to accomplish aligned, the people we wanted to be were aligned. We're both family men. And I think that's important when you're selecting a partner. But if you're out there and you don't have the courage, go find somebody to partner with, because I will not let Jake down. I ran down to get to this interview. I got stuck in traffic. I made sure I got here 5 minutes before.
Wow.
So subconsciously, I'm like, I need to be on this interview because I don't want to let my partner down, because I'm representing the Jake and Gino brand with Raphael and with his listeners. So that puts pressure on me. Now, if you're by yourself, you could say sometimes, I'll skip the workout, or I'll skip going to that meeting. It's not that important. But I know that my business partner would not do that to me, that he's fully committed to our portfolio and to running the property management. So I need to have the same ethics, the same hard work ethics as he would. So if you don't have the courage, go out there and find somebody you can partner with. And I guarantee you, if you find the right partner, you're not letting that person down, because I think it's important to understand that I'm helping put food on Jake's table for his kids, and he's doing the same for me. So how can I make an excuse by saying I'm a little tired today? And it's the same with my wife. I can't make that excuse to her because she's never really said that to me. So find out who you're surrounding with. I am not around people who are victims. I used to be, not anymore. And if you want to be around people who are victims, they're going to find excuses for you. So just be careful who you surround yourself with.
Wow, what a powerful message that you just gave to all of us. I've had partners, and that hasn't always worked out. So how do we even know? Somehow you and Jake really made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So how ironclad is your agreement? Was it a handshake? Because a lot of people, I'm old school. I'm the old handshake. Listen, I'm gonna do the same. Like, if you and I are partners, I'm in it. If I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there, just like you did. You're in it all the way. But now we walk into this whole thing of people backstabbing, saying the wrong things, not showing up, not doing their due diligence. How do we understand that it takes so much to get into partnership with someone like you and Jake have? How did you guys even create that? Because that's not easy.
I'm going to give you 3 quick examples. I'm going to give you 2 failures, and then I'm going to give you Jake and myself. The one back in 2005 that I always like to talk about is my Maserati Mike story. I was at the restaurant. A gentleman with a gold Maserati pulls into the driveway, and he was introduced to me by a friend. So Maserati Mike is investing in mobile home parks. Now, I've got money from the restaurant. He's got a deal. So I, not doing any due diligence, not even thinking it was a partnership, gave Maserati Mike a ton of money. Maserati Mike took the money, invested it, and it was good for a couple of months. I got a couple of checks. Then after about 6 months, the check stopped. And then after about 18 months, went into foreclosure, and I lost my $172,000. Now, I could sit there, and I did in the beginning, and blame Maserati Mike for the failure. But when I look at the partnership, whose fault was it? A lot of it fell upon me because I didn't understand mobile home parks. I didn't do due diligence on the deals. If I had gotten my ass on a plane and flown down to the properties, I would have said, we're buying this here? Okay, I would not have done it. I didn't understand what a cap rate was, or a cash on cash return was, or a debt coverage ratio. So I didn't know the business of real estate. And I didn't know my business partner, Mike, at the time. I didn't do a criminal credit background check. I didn't look at his other deals that he had. So that's how you fail in partnership, not choosing the right partner. And I really didn't bring any value to that partnership other than the money itself. So it wasn't truly a partnership. I'm just giving Mike money. Mike's not putting any of his money into the deal. So he has no skin in the game. So when the deal goes south, hey, I just lost money. I lost Gino's money. I didn't lose anything on myself. So I think to really choose a great partner, you both have to bring value to the table. You both have to have skin in the game in the partnership. Now, Jake and myself, we both brought money to the table. We both brought skin to the game. We both worked really hard. We both set expectations of this is what we're going to do. We called each other, I mean, in the beginning daily. And now obviously we talk to each other daily now, but we have rhythms. We had rhythms where we would speak constantly, constant communication. And when you have the difficult conversations, you need to have the difficult conversations. And we both brought different skill sets and value to that partnership. In 2015, I meet some morons down here in Florida, and the opposite. And it was the same thing. It was my fault, but these people were, I don't want to call them criminals, but they were very negligent at the least. We're going to build some Airbnbs. So right away, I'm veering off a multifamily. I'm going to the shiny objects. I've got a little bit of extra money. I'm lured by saying, hey, passive income. All I need to do is invest my money. What I should have done was, let me see the scope of work. We're building these 2 homes, and we're building one on the ocean front. I want access to all the bank accounts. Let's get on weekly level 10 meetings every week so we see what's going on with the builder. I didn't do any of that. And then when the deal went south, we had to split up. Thankfully, we got 2 of the properties. They got 1, but it was a veritable nightmare for about 6 months. But it could have all been avoided if I had done some background on the sponsor, on the lead guy. If I talked to some people that he had done business with, it would have been a no-brainer. I mean, the signs were there. I just had the allure, and this only happened several years ago. I had the allure of, hey, easy money. All I need to put some money in. I'll have some houses. Now, for me, I was fortunate because the function of the market cycle saved me. Real estate was going up, so I was able to exit and only lose $40,000, which was a small miracle. Now, the interesting thing is, a year and a half later, I would have made $500,000 in those properties. I just wanted to sell. It was right before COVID. And then when COVID hit, all the pricing down in Florida just exploded. But to say the difference between that partnership that was great and this one that failed, the one that failed was a lot of it had to do with myself. We always like to blame our partners and everyone else. If you look back, and Gino asks a few simple questions, and Gino asks to have weekly, and your partners are going, we don't need to get on a weekly call, then okay, you're not my guy. I have to go find somebody else because I want to know what's going on with the money. I want to be able to drive the business. And I'm not talking about 2-hour calls, 15 to 30-minute check-ins every week. Where are we at? Are the pools big? This guy built a house, and he didn't get a bid to build a pool. So when I took the properties over, the contractor's like, well, you don't have a pool here, but we're supposed to have a pool. It's a vacation rental. So that cost me another $50,000. There was so much sloppiness involved in this. But at the end of the day, once again, Rafael, it was on me because I didn't set expectations on the front end. I was too lazy to do that. And I was lazy with my money. That was the problem. And I think that's the differences that distinguishes a partnership that's really good and one that will flounder and eventually fail.
I did that so I wouldn't disturb you. Sorry, but thank you.
That's okay. I thought my computer went down. I'm like, great, here we go again with this technology thing.
So what I heard is that, yes, having courage is good because you had courage and you went into 2 deals and it didn't pan out.
Yes.
Had it panned out, it would have been a fluke. And then maybe you would have done other deals similar and you might have lost way more money.
Excellent. Great point. It's like the lottery winner. You get all this money, you're not ready for it, and then you go put the next deal. And that's what's happened in real estate the last 3 or 4 years. You have people who are raising inordinate amounts of capital. They've got a deal. Gino goes and invests with that person. That person puts him in a deal. The first few months, you're getting checks. Oh, I've got another deal. Well, Gino goes and invests in this person because this first deal worked out good. And I don't want to it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's just that they're buying these deals. And then all of a sudden, by the 3rd deal, you realize that the sponsor doesn't know what he's doing. And the market's shifted and interest rates have gone up and they have short-term bridge debt and they can't meet their obligations. And all of a sudden the deal blows up. And I was literally, like you said, completely fortunate because then he would have started property managing these properties. He would have been a criminal and a thief, and he would have stole all the property management fees that he would have accumulated. It would have been a nightmare. So in the short run, it was painful, but I actually dodged the bullet by if these deals worked, we would have bought more land. We would have bought more deals. We would have built more houses. And then you have a house of cards there, and he can't even manage these properties. He's saying that he's got a great property management company. He ended up selling it a year after we built it. So how good was he as a property manager? So very excellent point. I love that point that you made. I really do.
And then what I'm also listening to is you need to do your due diligence, and it goes for anything, right? Not only in a deal, but you even talked about due diligence in your partner, right? If
Hmm.
you're gonna, because you're investing not only your money but your time with a partner, right?
Hmm. Yes.
You talked about the meetings. So right now, I have a partnership with a person. I'm doing a public communication center. Actually, I built one here. I'm actually sitting in it now. And what winds up happening is this one is all me, right? But my deal with my partner is on the virtual. So we have a virtual platform, and we're doing a lot of back end work, but we meet twice a week. Well, actually, this week we're meeting 3 times a week, and we're getting into all the different things. We have our finances a certain way. We go through them. We do all these different
Hmm.
urgents, because without that, man,
Hmm.
we be both of us would not be safe. But
Hmm.
only the other thing is that we also have an actual written agreement that if this one doesn't put up their effort or what they say they're going to do, then something has to happen, right?
Hmm. I love
So we
that.
have to put all these different things in place because, listen, divorce happens,
Yes.
right? Divorce happens. You know, you're very lucky that. And by the way, congratulations on 6 kids.
Thank
It's got to be amazing. I'm number 10 of 12, right? I think I'm Colombian, so my parents just didn't believe in contraceptives. But
It's
for me,
interesting. I wish I had more. That's the thing. I have 6. I wish I had bought into that whole thing of every time we got pregnant, people would say another kid, another college, another, another wedding. And people are focusing on everything that's negative instead of focusing on the miracle and the beauty of the child. So I sort of bought into that for a little while. And now I sort of regret it. But Raphael, there's something that I need to say to people listening to this, because this is very important when you're investing. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, and you're really busy and you want to invest in a vehicle, you need to take the time to look into the vehicle. I'm creating a program for passive investing. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and it really dawned on me. You really need to learn. But if you're too busy and you're just going to invest money into a business passively and you can't do the research, just go put your money and go buy whole life insurance. Buy something that's guaranteed, or put something in an index fund where you don't have to worry about it. Because all the stuff that we're talking about here, your communications business there, your real estate, whatever it may be, you need to do due diligence. You need to do work on the front end. And it's important. You can still invest passively, but doing work on the front end, figuring out the sponsor. That's what you're talking about right now. The person who's the lead sponsor, the person who's doing the deal, putting the deal together. You need to learn about them. And then the second thing is do your interests align with that sponsor? And if I look back at my first deal with Maserati Mike, well, he was a terrible sponsor. His interests did not align with mine because he had no skin in the game. I was taking all the risk. And then the third part of that framework we talk about is the deal itself. Well, the mobile home park. I should have not even worried about the deal. I should have looked just at him. And if I had done that, I would not have invested in that deal. So if you're out there listening, I want to invest passively in a business or in real estate, absolutely can do that. But you need to do the work on the front end. You need to analyze that deal as if you're investing in it actively. And then, and only then, should you commit money to that deal.
without a doubt, without a doubt. For example, you talked about my communication center that I'm building. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm not only vetting all the instructors who are going to be in it because they're representing me, right?
Yes.
So if you're going to represent me, you need to bring your A game. And the instructors on the course, I only want top notch. If you're not top notch, I'm sorry. Right now is a no. If you ever become top notch, then we'll talk again. And also, if you're not going to be doing your due diligence as an instructor coming, and you're not going to provide the best quality that you possibly can, then it's not going to make sense for us. Because for me to put the product out there to the world, because we're doing this worldwide. I have somebody in Switzerland who's going to be an instructor. I have somebody in the UK. I have people all over the world who are going to be instructors in this platform.
Awesome.
And if they're not top notch, who's going to want to come to it?
Yes.
Nobody. You go, this thing's phony. It's ridiculous. So not
Mhm.
only do I have the vetting process, but then I also have their involvement and what they get for their involvement. So I don't want to cap their salaries. They're getting a portion of the business. So what
Mm.
happens with that is now they're more interested,
Yes.
because if I just give them a salary, they can go work somewhere else. But if they're getting a portion of the business, now guess what?
Mhm.
Their investment is not only bringing the best possible product, but knowing that also whoever does the best that month out of all my instructors, the top instructor gets an additional 5%. So there's an incentive to bring your best.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
for me, when we think about businesses, how can we make someone who's going to be on our team be the best? We have to incentivize them. We have to give them bonuses. We have to give them maybe that shiny thing that they want or they have to fight for, right? So that
Mhm.
they go and get it for us. Because if I was going to do this all myself, it's all me. But then it's only based on my strengths and
Mhm.
weakness.
Mhm.
Now, if I bring other people in, now I'm just that much stronger. That's why I think your partnership with with um, with Jake is so important to both of you guys, because you understand the value of what you're bringing to your community.
Mhm. You know, Raphael, one thing I'd like to add about the partnership that I didn't have at the restaurant that Jake and I created were core values. And I think you're talking as you speak about your business that you're building over there, the communications, you're talking about creating a culture within your organization. I didn't have a culture and I didn't have core values at the restaurant. I had this employee stinks because it's his fault. But he had no guidance from me, or she had no guidance from me. I didn't have a mission statement. I didn't have core values. I really wasn't building a company with culture. And now, what Jake and I are trying to do, we're trying to build an enduring organization. And how do you do that? And as you're listening to this, I would challenge you, if you don't have core values for your business, go out and start focusing on them. We used a company called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. We didn't know how to scale a company. We're at 500 units. Jake and I are like the I'm a guys. We're doing everything. And we know we needed to change. We never scaled a business before that size. So we went out and we started creating our core values. It took us 6 months. People first, unwavering
Yeah.
ethics, growth mindset, extreme ownership, make it happen. Those are our 5 core values. And when you go out and you hire instructors, or you find a business partner, or you're creating a Jake and Gino community education full of students, we want to attract that type of person. I mean, I want extreme ownership. I mean, would have I had gotten into partnership with Maserati Mike if one of my core values was extreme ownership? I don't think so. Unwavering ethics, that guy does not check that box. So right away, you can just look at your core values and go, If you have an employee that continually says, it's not my job, or we do it this way and this is the only way, well, they don't have a growth mindset, and they're not extreme ownership. So you don't
Right.
hire that person, or it's a lot easier to fire that person. Once you have these core values laid out and you're living by them and you can feel them, the rest of the organization feels that and they start working towards and with in alignment with those core values. So it's really, really important way to actually either choose a partner and or to continue to grow your organization. Because I had one restaurant for 24 years. We sold in February of 2020. Within 5 years, Jake and I had 1,500 apartment units. Logically, that makes no sense. The only thing that I can really point to is getting into a different business, looking at it through a different lens, but actually having these core values and being able to hire and fire and work with great people to grow the organization.
Yeah. So core values are definitely a key ingredient. In my martial arts business, I used to train anybody who walked through my door. Come on in, let's go. I don't do that anymore because my core values change. Family
Yes.
first. So if you come through my door, whether you're an adult, a child, or you want to bring your child, if you think we're drop-off service and you just pull up, your kid jumps out, and then no, and then your kid's there waiting for you. That doesn't happen. So
Yes.
in order for you to come and have your children train with us, I have a 10,000 square foot facilities for martial arts. That's not a small place. So
That's really
you
big.
need to
Yeah.
you need to come in, you need to sit in. We have a huge lobby. Most martial arts schools are the size of my lobby because I want people to feel like their family. We give them free coffee. So all these different things are happening. When they come into the facility, they actually have to be in the classroom with the kids. We have seats for them. They have to participate because sometimes we'll go to the kids, go work with your mom, go work with your dad. And so we don't do drop-off service. We say
That's awesome.
if you're not going to be here, then we're the wrong place for you. I had a parent recently come in and he goes, "Oh yeah, oh this is great. I can go to Target." I'm like, "Not while your son is in class, you can." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're not a drop-off service." "Oh, really? Huh." So I said, "You can try class, one trial, and then you do it for a month. And if you like it, and if we first of all, we don't take everybody. I take it away from everybody." And they're
Yes.
like, "What do you mean you don't take? You mean I have to be accepted?" I said, "Yeah, just the same way you're accepting me. Maybe you don't like me, you don't like my facility, you don't like my instructors. That's cool, but it's a two-way street here, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We have to fall into what we are going to accept. And if we're not the right place for you, hey man, best of luck to you. I'll even suggest places, but we're not just taking anybody because guess what? We get a rotten apple and they're going to start polluting the whole place.
Yes.
Everybody is here. We do events, we do all these, but everybody's like, oh, this is family.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people not for a year or 2 years. I have members who've been with me over 20, 24, 25 years, and they're still my members,
That's awesome.
which is pretty cool. And I have people here who brought their kids to start. Now they're doing martial arts
Yeah.
because they found the values of what
Mm-hmm.
we do. And now they're my biggest fans.
Mm-hmm.
So core values, I totally agree. Let me ask you a question. In all that you're doing, you decided, and you said it earlier when we started talking, that when you started making money, you realized that you had a gift for that and you wanted to share that gift with others. But you could have done it, your cousins, your family members kept it small, but you created a community to guide people. Hey, listen, I'm not in real estate, but maybe you and I need to have a conversation and get me involved, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind having a conversation with you because, and of course, guess what? You told me, hey, Rafael, don't get in business with me unless you're going to do your due diligence, right? Because that's important. And
Mm-hmm.
it, just by you saying those words sounds like this is a person that I think I can trust, but because we really don't know each other, it's important. And even anybody who's going to come to you, right? And I'm going to throw I'm going to put it right now so people can see your website. If they go to your website, it's important that they do their due diligence also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to
Absolutely.
make sure that first that they want to work with you and they're happy to work with you, right? So what made you decide that I don't want to just teach my local community. I want to take this globally, if you will, because I'm sure you're helping people across the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
What made you
I,
decide that you wanted to go and help more than just your local?
that's a great question. I live by the mantra: people with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. I truly believe that. And I truly believe that empowering fathers to be leaders and to be providers and to be the head of the household is truly important. And once you understand finance and you can get your finances under control, everything changes in life. I was struggling to pay the bills, and when I was working on that hamster wheel, I was only focusing on myself. I couldn't help anybody else. And that was the reality. Once I became financially free and I'm paying my bills, another part of my brain was unlocked where I'm like, I can help other people. And then I saw the profound effect that it had on me. And I'm like, I want to help others. Now, it's hard to help family members because you have to have skin in the game yourself. If I'm going to give you all this information for free, do you value it? Not really. And that's the reality. And I just saw the effect that it had. And one of the missions, me and my wife have a podcast. It's the Julie and Gino Show. We talk about working with your spouse. We talk about communication. We talk about life coaching. And it's not just about making money. It's about making happy money, but it's also about having a happy family. And how do you do that? And I want to reach the world. I'd love to be able to tell people how amazing family life is, how amazing it is to be married, how amazing it is to have kids. When you hear happy wife, happy life, that's the wrong message. You need to be happy yourself. No one else can make you happy. And I found happiness through finding impact and through finding my soul purpose. And I think my soul purpose was to really share the message of what money truly is. It's just a tool. It really, money, what it lends you to do is it lends you to have some kind of autonomy in your life, to have decisions that if I want to be on a podcast at 10 a.m. in the morning, I can, because my bills are paid. And it's great to have that autonomy. And that's all money is. We're so confused about money. There's such an emotion around money that people can't think logically about it. It's just a tool. It's just an amplifier. When we understand that, things change a little bit. I used to chase money when I was at the job. That's what I was focused on. How much money did I make this week? How much money? Now, the shift when you're an entrepreneur is you chase opportunity. And the more opportunity you chase, the more buildings you build, the more businesses you have, the more people you sign up to your studio, then the more money you make. Money is just a result. I didn't understand that early on. And it's a simple concept. And money has rules. It's a game like anything else. If you don't know the rules, if you don't build a foundation upon that, you're going to lose at the game of money. And I was losing for a long time until I realized, what are these other people doing that I'm not doing? It starts with mindset. I think anything in life starts with mindset, understanding what's coming into your life. Your input shapes your outlook. That's the reality. So if you're watching the news and everything's negative, well, that's what your outlook's going to be. So understand that's the first component. Then the second component is we're talking about values. Then the third component is just getting clear on what you want in life. When I was at the restaurant, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here. Yeah, but Gino, what do you want to do? I don't know. I don't want to be here. Well, if I don't know what I want to do, how am I going to do what I want to do? Does that make sense? I mean, like, it's interesting at that point. And then I really had to realize, I want to get into real estate. And once I made that commitment and I had that clarity, I didn't lack motivation. I lacked clarity. Once I had the clarity, okay, now I can go towards that objective.
So when you consider all that you have been talking about, your heart is in the right place because you're looking to give back.
Mm-hmm.
Because you talked about, you did all the books, you did all the Zig Ziglar, you did all the studying, all the trying to understand, trying to figure out your finances. And one of the things that you talked about is the fear of money. People are afraid of money because they see, that guy's a jerk and he's got so much money. No wonder he's probably stepped over everybody. Mm-hmm. Or they see someone and they're like, how on earth could that person have made this much money? But meanwhile, in the old statement of money doesn't grow on trees, I gotta say we define that by no. I built the tree to make the money.
I love that. I gotta use that.
That's what you did. You built your own tree.
I love that.
And then money does grow on the tree you built.
Mm-hmm.
But the tree doesn't just appear out of nowhere.
Yes.
You built the tree, right? You plant the seed, you make it grow roots, and you talked about the roots maybe not, they're not deep enough, so you have to dig deep, build that tree, make sure it's watered, so you're constantly looking out after it. Yes, there's sweat equity that has to go into it, right? One day that tree is going to bear fruit. Right? That fruit may be many businesses. It may be that house that you were looking for, that car, the vacation, the helping your family, the helping your neighbor, the contributing to giving charity. So that's the tree that we're building. So we have to define how we look at the money tree, right?
Raphael, you asked a great question early on, and you asked me to go back into my childhood. And I would love anybody listening to this to go back into your childhood and to hear and to listen to the messages that you heard about money. Money was scarce when I was growing up. I had the hand-me-downs. It's tough. Money doesn't grow on trees. It takes money to make money. And those were ingrained in me. I was a great saver. And then when I realized, I read the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, I understood the relationship to money, the relationship that I had with money. And I think if we can start looking at those are limiting beliefs. Those are beliefs that you were taught. How is it in 2013, I do my first real estate deal with Jake. I use seller financing. It's a creative form of financing. It didn't take money to make money. I didn't have $60,000 of that loan was not money. It was a note from a seller. And then 4 deals later, we're doing an $11 million deal. It's all seller financed. So I didn't have any of my own money. So money on that deal grew on trees. So if I had gone with that preconception that I had learned from my parents, I probably would not be in real estate. I had to challenge all those assumptions. You should challenge those assumptions, but you need to understand what your relationship with money is. Because if you think a rich guy is a jerk and he's stepping over people, you are not going to attract money. Because when you do, subconsciously, you're going to say to yourself, I don't want to be like that person. I want to get rid of my money. And that's what ends up happening. So understand what the relationship is. Money is just the amplifier. If you're a jerk, if you're a moron, when you have a lot of money, you're just going to be a bigger one. That's just the reality. And people don't get that. It's just interesting to me. And you for me when I hear that. So just understand what your relationship with money is and take a deep dive. Take, an essence of where you grew up, what you heard, and challenge those things. Because I think 70% of the millionaires in this country, they're first-time millionaires. They aren't people who inherited money. They're people like you and people like me who had small businesses and figured it out. And hopefully we're trying to pass it down to our kids. But that's what's great about this country. You can start with nothing and build yourself a small fortune if you want.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. When you have someone who believes in you, like your wife, my God, you are blessed, my friend. You are definitely blessed.
I am. And that's why I couldn't quit. That's exactly why I felt so torn about working at the restaurant. I knew that I had the opportunity. I knew that I had the gifts. I knew that I had, I had a lot. The foundation was there. It was just like you said, the courage and the fear of not taking that next step. And I didn't want to look back 5 years later saying I should have taken that opportunity, but I didn't. I was too afraid.
So when you talked earlier about, and I congratulated you that you had 6 kids, and you're like, man, I wish I would have had more. I'm number 10 of 12, and I wish I would have had 20. I love kids. I'm one of those crazy guys that I said, if I could have carried kids in my belly, I would have. Right? That's how I feel about kids. They're the most.
Yeah.
That it's such a beautiful, beautiful gift. It really is. And when I see someone mistreating a kid or like backslapping their kid or telling their kids to shut up, which is, I hate that word. And it's like, don't stagnate that beautiful child and encourage them to continue to ask why. I hear so many people say, stop asking questions. I'm like, no, don't ever say that. Kids need to ask questions. Questions are what helps us learn. Questions are what you got to question the status quo even, right? You question your life choices at sitting in the restaurant. You started I'm sure in the beginning you were not questioning. You were so darn busy and crazy with this customer, that happening, deliveries, the waiters, the staff, all these different things. And then you had a moment and you go, why am I here? If you didn't ask that question, you would still be in a restaurant. You would not be on the show with me right now. And you, I'm going to say, an overachiever, because you have 4 podcasts. You are talking about books. Tell me how you You went from doing all these different things to saying, hey, I'm going to make time for a podcast. I'm going to time to do books. What was that motivation for you, Gino?
I think I wanted to leave the legacy for the kids. I think as I'm writing more books, as I'm teaching, my kids are, the oldest ones are 24, 21, and 18. And now they're coming into their own. And I see how great they are with money and how their relationship is with money and how each of them has their own little business. I think you start out small. And then as you get older, you learn to take on more. You learn to hire better people. I'm not doing this all by myself. I've got a great team. I mean, Jake and I, when we started our first podcast, Jake was editing it. Can you imagine that Jake is two things that he sucks at is accounting and editing. And like he was doing two tasks that he shouldn't. Those are the first two things, the first two people we hired in our business. And I think that's what you need to understand. You can't do it all yourself. You need to help and you need to hire out. And the toughest challenge is people like yourself and me. We're so positive. Everything looks like an opportunity. We have to figure out what truly is an opportunity and what isn't based on our values. That's why books may not make a lot of money for me. It's not a revenue generator, but it's a way to amplify the message. It's a way to get the credibility out. So you need to start, I guess, seeking opportunities and don't be afraid to say no sometimes. It's okay to say no sometimes. But for me, as I started writing more books, I got a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter has actually helped me write this book. I'm writing it. She's helped me tweak it. If I had to do it all by myself, it would take me 3 times as long and it wouldn't be as good. So understanding to let go, and it's that ego. I've got to do it all. I need all the recognition. No one's as good as me. I don't know who said that or how we even believe that, but that's not the truth. Go out there and get people to help you build your empire.
Yeah. When you said to let go, a lot of people have a hard time, especially when they're perfectionists, right? When they're like, oh, nobody can do it as good as me. Oh, it's not. But guess what? 80% of something is better than 0% of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was watching Shark Tank and Mark Cuban said to somebody, 80%, actually he said 90% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that.
So I was like, hey, that's pretty smart. But it is right, because a lot of times that's why when I'm doing my speaking prowess, my communication center, I said, yeah, I can take all the profits and yeah, it's all me. But if I give other people an opportunity to have some of the profit, wouldn't they want to be more invested in it?
Yes.
Wouldn't they want to do a better job? Because yes, I can build an empire, but an empire eventually crumbles, like they all have, right? Because there's only one king, right, and one queen. What if you had a bunch of kings putting it together? And that, I think that's where, even with our government, it's so, even though we do have a lot of things in place, we're so divided in this country. I don't get into politics. I'm just an observer. I'm not changing policy, but I am saying, why are we so divided when we are in the best country in the world? We are blessed to be, to have the freedoms, to do a podcast, to write a book, to go out and buy real estate, to help another person. We have those freedoms, yet there's so much turmoil in this country. There's so much poverty. Really, we're one of the richest countries. I don't understand why there's homeless people. Yes, we don't need to do handouts, but we need to help in a way that they help themselves, right? And you and I have conversations for days, my friend. I think you bring so much to the table, and our journey together is not ending with this podcast. I can see it.
I agree.
I need you on my other podcasts too, right? This prowess, right? You might even have to come out. We barely touched the surface of you, of what you're doing, of how you're helping people. There's so many layers to you. You're like a beautiful, bright onion, right? And the more you peel, the more that gets revealed.
Mhm.
So keep doing what you're doing. Encourage, encourage, encourage. And I encourage everyone to go and find you guys and go to your website. Let me throw it up here again so that you guys can go and check it out, right? jakeandgino.com. That's such an easy
It,
website.
it is. It's not Gino and Jake. It's Jake and Gino. It just rolls off the tongue a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does, it does. But when you consider all that you're doing, what's the one thing before we end the show? And I know we're going a little bit over, but what's the one advice that you would give anybody who wants to start either any venture or even getting into real estate?
Wow. The first, it to me, it's education times action equals results. You need to go in and you need to learn. I mean, don't think you're going to be successful in the next 6 months. It's going to take a little bit of time. You need to lay the groundwork and be persistent. And you'd use the word why. If you can understand what your why is, when the broker hangs up on you or the investor says no, or the community member doesn't join, it's okay because you have a greater good. That's the short term. You're always working towards the long term. Become clear on why you're getting into real estate. I knew that real estate was the best vehicle for me to create wealth, to be able to create a business, to be able to help others. So when we got rejected for 18 months, y'all ain't doing business down here, I just didn't quit. And I think that's what every successful person will tell you. They just didn't quit. They knew that they had to accomplish this. It's almost like the analogy of burning the boats. I don't say go out, quit your job and jump into whatever you're doing, but mentally just be focused on saying, this is not an alternative for me to quit. It's going to be hard. And partnering up with somebody made it a little bit easier for me. So all of those no's and all of the setbacks were okay because I was facing with somebody. That's what I would say, Raphael.
Yeah, perfect. Nicely said. Also, I think definitely, like you talked earlier, do your due diligence, right? That's important.
Yes,
Research,
absolutely.
research.
Absolutely.
Gino, thank you again I really appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being here today and making this an incredible show. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Raphael. Take
Don't
care.
go away. Just hang out for a second as we say goodbye to everybody. Everybody have an exceptional day. Make sure to follow the show, and we will see you next time.